The shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss, and Arun stepped onto the shining platform. Before him rose the Golden Opera Hall, a masterpiece of art and light. The structure seemed alive, glowing as if the walls themselves breathed. Beams of amber and silver spread across its grand surface, catching the starlight from the twin moons above. Arun had read about it many times during his studies on Earth. To him, it was more than a building, it was a bridge between worlds. Built long ago by several alien races working together, the Opera Hall was a place where music connected minds and spirits. Now, humans were being invited for the first time to learn its secrets. And he, a young historian with a careful eye, had been chosen to represent them. The air smelled faintly of spice and crystal dust. Alien visitors passed by him, dressed in robes that shimmered with hidden patterns. Their voices carried soft tones, some like bells, others like flowing water. Arun walked slowly, afraid he might miss a detail. Every corner of the opera hall seemed carved with meaning, every step carrying the weight of history. Inside, the hall was even more breathtaking. Golden arches stretched high into the sky, decorated with carvings that shifted when one moved. The seats were arranged in spirals, so no one was too far from the stage. In the center, the grand platform glowed faintly, ready for a performance. Arun stopped to admire the ceiling, which looked like a river of stars caught in motion. It was then that he heard a voice. Soft, clear, and carrying a note so pure that he felt it in his bones. It was not meant for him. The singer must have been practicing, unaware that anyone listened. But the sound reached him as if it traveled only for his ears. Arun stood still, his heart beating faster. He followed the voice down a side hall. There, behind an open curtain, stood a figure. She was taller than him, her skin carrying a faint glow like sunlight on polished stone. Her hair shimmered faintly, shifting shades as she moved. In her hands she held a small instrument with strings that caught the golden light. This was Myra, though Arun did not yet know her name. She sang with her eyes closed, her voice weaving into the strings like two rivers meeting. The sound filled the empty hall around her, echoing against the golden walls. Arun listened, almost afraid to breathe. There was no doubt this was unlike any human song. It felt older, carrying memories not his own. Yet he could understand it, not with words but with feeling. The melody spoke of longing, of journeys across stars, of bonds that time could not break. Suddenly, Myra stopped. Her eyes opened, sharp and alert. She saw him standing there. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Arun realized he had been rude, listening without permission. He opened his mouth to explain, but words failed. "You heard it?" she asked softly, her voice different now, less like music, more like a whisper. Arun nodded, unsure what she meant. "No human should hear this song," Myra continued, her gaze narrowing. She studied him as if trying to solve a puzzle. "It belongs to my people." "Yet, you reacted." Arun found his voice at last. I didn't mean to intrude. But it was beautiful. I could feel it." Myra tilted her head, curious now instead of stern. Most visitors passed through the hall without noticing the subtleties of the music. But this human, he had heard it as if he belonged. After a long pause, she gave a faint smile. "Then perhaps the hall has chosen to whisper to you." Before Arun could ask what she meant, another voice called from the distance, summoning Myra back to her duties. She gave him one last searching look before slipping away behind the curtain, leaving only the echo of her song. Arun stood alone in the golden hallway, his thoughts racing. He had only just arrived, but already the opera hall was offering him mysteries. And somewhere in the glow of its endless light, a singer named Myra had left him with a whisper that he could not forget. The next day, Arun walked through the golden corridors of the opera hall with his notebook in hand. He had promised himself he would focus on his research, but his thoughts kept returning to the mysterious singer he had met. Her voice had not been ordinary music, it had touched something deep inside him, something he could not explain. He joined a group of other visitors who were being guided through the archives. Rows of crystal tablets lined the walls, glowing faintly with words and patterns. The guide, an elder from another species, spoke about the opera hall's long history. These halls were built not only for performance, the guide explained, but also for memory. Every note sung here is recorded. Every harmony lives forever in these walls. Arun tried to listen carefully, but the words blurred in his mind. He wondered if Myra's song had also been captured here, hidden among the thousands of echoes. That evening, he attended his first performance in the grand hall. The stage shone like liquid gold, and hundreds of beings from different worlds filled the spiral seats. When the lights dimmed, silence fell. Then, music began soft at first, then rising, carried by voices that blended into something greater than any one singer. And then Myra stepped forward. Arun recognized her instantly. She wore a robe woven with strands of light that shimmered like flowing water. When she lifted her instrument and began to sing, the hall seemed to breathe with her. Her voice soared, filling every corner, every ear, every heart. The melody was strange, yet somehow familiar. Most of the audience listened with awe, but Arun felt something stronger. The song reached him as though it had been meant for him alone. He could sense its meaning: loneliness turning into hope, silence breaking into connection. The words were not in his language, but he understood them. Halfway through, Myra's eyes swept over the crowd. For a brief second, her gaze locked with Arun's. Her voice did not falter, but there was surprise in her expression, as if she had found him again among the thousands of faces. When the performance ended, the hall erupted in applause. Arun sat still, his chest tight, his mind full of questions. Why could he hear her so clearly? Why did her song speak to him when others only admired its beauty? After the crowd began to leave, Arun moved toward the side corridors. He hoped, though he did not fully admit it, that he might see her again. And as if the hall itself had heard his thoughts, she appeared, stepping quietly from the backstage passage. "You were there," Myra said, her voice soft, almost cautious. "Yes," Arun admitted. "Your song, it reached me." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "It should not have. That melody belongs to my people. Humans should hear only the surface of it, like distant sound." "But you understood it?" Arun hesitated. "Maybe it is because I study history. I have read many things, listened to many songs." Perhaps. Myra shook her head gently. "No. This is not learning. This is resonance. You felt what was hidden. That is not supposed to happen." They stood in silence for a moment. Around them, the golden walls glowed faintly, as though they too were listening. Arun could feel the weight of her words. He was different here. Something inside him connected to the hall in a way even he could not explain. Finally, Myra spoke again. "If others learn of this, they may not welcome it. Some believe the hall belongs only to those chosen by tradition. Be careful, Arun." Her warning was serious, but her eyes held curiosity, maybe even trust. She had shared her concern instead of turning away. That gave Arun hope. He bowed his head slightly. Thank you. I don't wish to cause trouble. I only wish to understand. For the first time, Myra's lips curved into a small smile. It was brief, but it changed her face entirely, softening the glow in her eyes. Then perhaps, she whispered, we will speak again. Before Arun could reply, another performer called her name, and she turned to leave. The curtain closed behind her, leaving Arun once more with only echoes and questions. As he walked back through the golden hallways, he realized something. He had come here for knowledge of the past, but what he had found was living, breathing mystery. And at the center of it was Myra, the singer whose voice refused to fade from his mind. The following days in the Golden Opera Hall were filled with learning. Arun spent long hours in the archives, studying the crystal tablets that told stories through light and sound. Each one held songs older than human memory, voices from worlds he had never seen. The guides explained their meanings, but Arun noticed that some parts of the music seemed to shift when he listened. It was as if the hall wanted him to hear something hidden. Late one evening, after most visitors had left, Arun stayed behind. The hallways were quiet, the golden walls glowing faintly in the silence. He traced his fingers along a carved arch, wondering what it might have seen over centuries of song. Suddenly, he heard soft footsteps behind him. It was Myra. She carried her instrument, the same one he had seen before, but she was not dressed in her performance robes. Tonight she wore simple clothing, and her glow was softer, almost human in its warmth. You are here again, she said, her voice calm but curious. Arun nodded. I wanted to understand more. These walls, they feel alive. Myra looked at him for a long moment, then motioned for him to follow. Come. I will show you something. She led him through narrow corridors hidden behind the main arches. The passageways were dim, lined with symbols that shimmered when touched by light. Arun had never seen these places during the official tours. They twisted and turned, like veins running through the hall's body. At last, they entered a small chamber lit by a single crystal. The walls were lined with carvings of singers from many races, their images raised in golden relief. In the center stood a tall door, sealed with ancient markings. This, Myra said softly, is a passage not shown to most visitors. It leads to the older parts of the opera hall, where the first voices still rest. Arun felt a thrill of wonder. Why are you showing me this? Myra studied him carefully, her eyes reflecting the glow of the crystal. Because when you heard my song, I knew you were different. I should have ignored it, but the hall seems to have chosen you. Perhaps you are meant to walk these halls with me. Her words carried a weight Arun could not ignore. He stepped closer to the door, tracing the markings. They pulsed faintly, as if responding to his touch. Myra watched silently, her face unreadable. The silence stretched, broken only by the soft hum of the walls. Finally, Myra spoke again. Do you know what these symbols mean? Arun shook his head. They say, only those who carry true harmony may open this way. For generations, my people believed it referred only to us. But tonight, when you touched the door, the markings stirred. That should not be possible. Arun's breath caught. He had not meant to do anything unusual, he had only followed curiosity. Yet the hall itself seemed to recognize him. Why me? He asked quietly. Myra gave a faint smile, though her eyes still held caution. Perhaps humans are not as separate as we once thought. Perhaps your people carry more than anyone realized. For a moment, they stood close, the golden light surrounding them. Arun felt both nervous and comforted by her presence. Though they came from different worlds, the silence between them was not empty, it was full of questions, of possibilities. Then, footsteps echoed in the corridor behind them. Myra quickly placed a hand on his arm and whispered, "Not here. Not now." She guided him out of the chamber, back through the hidden halls, until they emerged once more into the main corridor where other visitors walked. Her expression was calm again, but her voice carried a quiet edge. "If anyone asks, you saw nothing. The elders do not want humans in those places. Promise me you will keep this secret." Arun met her gaze and nodded. "I promise." For the first time, Myra's serious expression softened into something more gentle. "Good. Then perhaps one day, when the hall allows, I will show you more." She left quickly, vanishing into the crowd. Arun remained still, his heart racing. He had come here as a student, but now he was part of something far larger than he could have imagined. The Golden Opera Hall was not just a place of music. It was alive with secrets. And somehow, it had chosen him to hear its whispers. Days passed, and whispers began to spread through the opera hall. Arun noticed it first in the way others looked at him. Some of the alien visitors greeted him kindly, but a few gave quiet stares, their eyes full of doubt. He did not understand at first, but soon he realized why. Word had traveled that a human had wandered into places where no human should go. Even though Myra had asked him to keep their secret, somehow rumors had escaped into the golden corridors. One afternoon, as Arun studied the crystal archives, an elder approached him. The elder's face was marked with lines of silver, a sign of wisdom among their people. His voice was calm but firm. "Human," the elder said, "the opera hall is not yours to explore. You are welcome as a guest, but you must remain where guests are meant to be. Do not forget this." Arun lowered his head respectfully. "I understand," he said softly. But in his heart, he could not ignore what he had seen, nor the strange connection he felt to the hall. That evening, he found Myra in one of the smaller practice rooms. She was playing her instrument, the notes flowing like water across stone. Her music was softer than before, touched with sadness. When she saw him, she paused. "You heard the warnings," she said quietly. Arun nodded. "Yes. They do not want me near the hidden places." Myra placed her instrument down and folded her hands. "The elders are afraid. They believe humans are too young, too untested, to understand the true harmony of this hall. They fear you will disturb what must remain balanced." Arun's voice was steady, though his chest felt heavy. "And you? Do you believe the same?" Myra looked at him for a long moment. The golden light of the room reflected in her eyes. "I do not know what to believe. You heard my song when no human should have. You touched the markings on the old door, and they answered you. That is not something I can ignore. But if I stay close to you, I will face questions too." Her words carried a quiet weight. Arun could feel the distance growing between them, like a wall built not by choice but by pressure from outside. He wanted to step closer, to tell her that the hall itself seemed to want them together, but he did not know how to say it without sounding foolish. Instead, he asked, "Do you wish me to stay away?" Myra's gaze softened, though her voice remained careful. "No, I only wish you to be cautious. This place is older than both of us. It does not forgive mistakes easily." Silence stretched between them, filled only by the faint hum of the golden walls. Then, slowly, Myra reached for her instrument again. "Listen," she said. She began to play, not for an audience, not for ceremony, but for him alone. The melody was gentle, almost fragile. It spoke of distance and closeness, of fear and hope woven together. Arun listened quietly, his heart steadying with each note. He knew she was giving him something precious, her trust, even if only in this moment. When the song ended, Myra looked at him. "Do you see why I cannot turn away from you, even if others ask me to?" Arun nodded. "Because the hall has tied us together." A faint smile touched her lips. "Yes. Perhaps that is true." But the moment was broken when another performer entered the room. She glanced at Arun, then whispered something to Myra in a tone too low for him to catch. Myra's expression tightened, and she gave a small nod. The performer left quickly, leaving a silence heavier than before. "They are watching you," Myra said, her voice quiet but serious. "And because I walk beside you, they are watching me too. If we continue, the whispers will grow louder. You must decide if you are ready for that." Arun felt the weight of her words. He had come here as a student, but now he stood on the edge of something greater, something dangerous. Yet when he looked at Myra, he knew his choice. "I will not walk away," he said firmly. "Even if the whispers grow." For a long time, Myra held his gaze. Then, at last, she gave the smallest nod, as though she had been waiting for that answer. The golden walls hummed softly around them, as if listening. The opera hall itself seemed to understand the choice they had made, even while the rift between them and the rest of the hall continued to grow. The whispers around Arun and Myra grew stronger with each passing day. Yet despite the pressure, they found themselves meeting again in quiet corners of the Golden Opera Hall. Sometimes Myra played her instrument for him, sometimes Arun shared old earth songs he remembered from childhood. In those private moments, the outside voices seemed far away. One evening, Myra led him once more into the hidden passageways. She walked quickly, her steps confident, as if she knew every twist of the golden corridors by heart. Arun followed, his mind racing with questions. "Where are we going?" he asked softly. "To the place I could not show you before," Myra replied. "If the hall truly answers you, then we must know why." They moved deeper into the opera hall, far from the areas open to visitors. The air grew cooler, and the golden glow dimmed to a soft amber. Finally, they reached a carved doorway, the same one Arun had touched before. The markings on its surface shimmered faintly. Myra stepped aside. "Try again," she whispered. Arun hesitated, then placed his hand against the door. At once, the carvings pulsed with light, brighter than before. The lines of gold spread outward, like veins awakening. With a low hum, the door shifted and slowly opened. Myra's eyes widened. "It listens to you." Beyond the door lay a chamber unlike anything Arun had seen. The room was round, its walls covered in ancient symbols. At the center stood a circle of instruments, glowing faintly as if waiting to be played. Some looked familiar: strings, pipes, drums, while others were shapes beyond human understanding. Arun stepped forward, feeling a strange pull. He touched one of the instruments, a curved frame strung with silver threads. To his surprise, it responded to him, producing a soft, clear note even though he had never learned how to play it. The sound spread through the chamber, gentle but strong, and the golden walls seemed to vibrate in reply. Myra watched him closely. "This should not be possible. Only those of my people can awaken these instruments. Yet they answer you as if you belong here." Arun felt both wonder and fear. Then maybe humans share more with this place than anyone believed. Myra stepped closer, lowering her voice. If the elders discover this, they will not see it as wonder. They will see it as danger. They guard these chambers for a reason. Arun turned to her. Why do you show me this, if it could bring trouble for you? She looked at him for a long moment. Because I trust what I feel. And what I feel tells me the hall has chosen you. I cannot ignore that. Their eyes met, and for a brief second, the chamber seemed to hold its breath. The golden glow wrapped around them like quiet music, uniting their silence. Suddenly, a sound echoed through the passage outside, footsteps, approaching quickly. Myra's expression changed to alarm. She grabbed Arun's hand and pulled him to the side of the chamber, where shadows offered cover. Two elders entered the chamber. They carried staffs that glowed faintly, their faces stern. One of them spoke in a deep voice. The old instruments stir again. Someone has entered this place. Arun's heart pounded. If they were caught, it could mean his removal from the opera hall or worse, punishment for Myra. The elders moved slowly around the chamber, studying the instruments. For a moment, Arun feared they would sense the lingering sound he had made. But after a while, they left, their footsteps fading back down the corridor. Myra let out a quiet breath of relief. We must go, she whispered. They slipped out of the chamber and back into the hidden hallways. When they finally reached the safer corridors, Myra stopped and faced him. You see now why I warned you, she said, her voice firm but not unkind. The hall may welcome you, but the people who guard it do not. If you wish to continue, you must be ready for the dangers that follow. Arun nodded slowly. I am ready. Whatever the risk, I want to understand this place. And I want to stand with you. For a moment, Myra's serious expression softened. Her eyes glowed faintly, like stars reflected in gold. Then we will face it together. As they walked back into the main hall, Arun felt a new strength in his chest. He had entered the hidden chamber, touched its ancient instruments, and discovered that the opera hall itself seemed to call him. But he also knew this was only the beginning. The hall's secrets were deeper than he imagined, and the bond growing between him and Myra was now tied to those secrets. And somewhere, in the golden silence of the hidden chamber, the instruments still waited for him. The day of the grand performance had arrived, and the golden opera hall was alive with energy. Beings from many worlds filled the seats, their eyes shining with anticipation. The hall itself seemed to glow brighter, as if aware that something extraordinary was about to happen. Backstage, Myra adjusted her instrument carefully. Arun stood beside her, his notebook now closed, his heart full of nerves and excitement. For weeks, they had prepared in secret, studying melodies that resonated between human and alien ears. And now, they would play together, their voices and instruments united for the first time before an audience of thousands. Myra glanced at him. Are you ready? She asked softly. Arun took a deep breath. I've never been more ready. Whatever happens, we do this together. She nodded, a small smile touching her lips. The tension in her shoulders eased slightly, though her eyes still carried seriousness. She understood the risk they were breaking tradition, blending human and alien music in a way that could either be celebrated or condemned. The performance began. Lights dimmed, leaving the stage bathed in a soft golden glow. The orchestra of alien instruments played first, a rhythm that hummed like the heartbeat of the hall itself. Arun followed Myra's cue and stepped forward, adding the first human notes to the harmony. At once, the sound shifted. The hall seemed to respond, walls vibrating gently, instruments shimmering. The melodies intertwined, human and alien, old and new, creating a resonance that had not been heard for centuries. Arun felt the music not just with his ears, but with his entire being. It moved through him, through Myra, through every soul in the audience. Myra's voice rose above the instruments, pure and clear. Arun joined, singing the human lines he had learned, unsure if he could reach the beauty she created. But as he sang, the hall amplified his voice, blending it perfectly with hers. He realized that the opera hall had not just accepted him, it had chosen him to bring something new to life. From the audience, whispers began. Some were of surprise, others of admiration. Elders who had once warned him now leaned forward, their expressions thoughtful. This music was something beyond any tradition, it was harmony in its truest form. Halfway through the performance, Arun and Myra exchanged a glance. The connection between them was no longer just musical. It was personal, deep, and undeniable. Every note they played, every chord they struck, carried a piece of their trust, courage, and hope. The hall seemed to embrace it all, glowing brighter with each passing moment. As the final notes rose, a hush fell over the audience. The last sound lingered in the air like golden light, then faded. For a heartbeat, no one moved. And then applause erupted, not polite or measured, but full and powerful, echoing off every wall. Arun felt Myra's hand brush against his. She looked at him, eyes wide, a mixture of relief and joy shining through. "We did it," she whispered. "Yes," Arun replied, his voice trembling. "We really did it." The elders approached them slowly, their faces unreadable. Arun felt a flicker of fear, but Myra squeezed his hand. One elder stepped forward and spoke in a calm tone, "You have shown us something remarkable. The hall has always sought harmony, and tonight, it has found it in both human and alien voices. Your courage and trust have reminded us that music can unite even the widest divides." Arun and Myra exchanged a look of disbelief and gratitude. They had risked everything, and the hall itself had rewarded them. Later, as the audience left and the golden halls returned to their quiet hum, Arun and Myra stood together in the center of the stage. The instruments still glowed faintly, as if thanking them for unlocking a new path. Myra turned to him, her voice soft but firm. "We made a choice tonight. And that choice will change the hall forever." Arun nodded. "Yes. And we made it together." In that moment, amid the golden light of the opera hall, they realized that their bond was no longer just secret whispers or hidden chambers. It was open, strong, and alive, woven into the very music of the universe. And for the first time, Arun understood fully, the hall had not only shown him the power of music, but the power of trust, courage, and connection. Together, he and Myra had created something that would echo for generations. The Golden Opera Hall was quiet now, but Arun and Myra could still feel the warmth of the grand performance lingering in the air. The audience had left, yet the hall seemed to hum softly, as if remembering every note, every chord, every heartbeat shared on the stage. Arun walked beside Myra, their steps echoing gently on the golden floor. The corridors, which had once seemed vast and intimidating, now felt welcoming, like a place that belonged to them both. "You were incredible tonight," Arun said softly, glancing at her. "I never imagined I could feel so much through music." Myra smiled faintly. "You were too. Without your voice, it would not have been complete. The hall responded to both of us. It accepted us." They paused at a high balcony overlooking the central stage. From this vantage point, the golden arches gleamed under the soft starlight filtering through the hall's crystal ceilings. Arun breathed in, feeling a sense of peace he had never known in his life. I was afraid, he admitted quietly, that the elders, or even the hall itself, would reject me. But it seems, humans have a place here too. Myra looked at him seriously. Yes. You have shown them that we can create harmony together, not just through music, but through trust. That is something no tradition, no rule, can deny. Tonight, you proved that humans are not outsiders. Arun felt a warmth spread through his chest. He had traveled across stars to study history, but he had discovered something more important: connection. And that connection was not only with Myra, but with the hall, with its music, and with a world that had seemed so far away from his own. A soft breeze stirred through the open windows, carrying faint notes from the instruments still glowing below. Myra leaned closer, her voice almost a whisper. Do you hear that? Arun listened. The tones were subtle, almost like a whisper, but he understood. The hall was speaking to them, in its own way. It was acknowledging their courage, their bond, and the choice they had made together. We have changed something here, Arun said, awe in his voice. Not just the music, but the hall itself. Myra nodded. Yes. And I think it will continue to change. Humans, aliens, together, it is stronger than any tradition. They stood silently, letting the golden light wrap around them. For the first time, the tension of secrets, whispers, and warnings seemed far away. There was only the quiet understanding that they had discovered something unique, something that would last far beyond their time in the hall. Finally, Arun spoke again, his voice steady. Myra, thank you. For trusting me, for showing me this place, for everything. Myra's eyes softened, and she reached for his hand. And thank you, Arun. For listening when I could not speak, for following when the path was uncertain. Together, we have found something the hall itself could not have given alone. They looked out over the stage, imagining the golden light stretching into the future. Somewhere in the deep halls, the instruments pulsed softly, as if echoing their bond, carrying a melody that would never fade. You think the hall will forgive us? Arun asked, smiling slightly. Myra laughed softly, a musical sound that blended perfectly with the quiet hum around them. It does not need to forgive us. We have only done what the hall wanted all along, found harmony. Arun felt a surge of hope. The hall had chosen to whisper to him long ago, and now, it had accepted him fully. And at the center of that acceptance was Myra, whose music had unlocked the courage and heart inside him. As the twin moons rose higher above the hall, their light streaming through crystal ceilings, Arun and Myra stood together. The golden halls were silent, but the whispers remained soft, enduring, full of promise. The human had discovered a place not only in the hall but in the hearts of those who had once doubted him. And the singer, who had once warned him of danger, now smiled freely, knowing that the connection they shared would last far beyond any performance. In the quiet glow of the Golden Opera Hall, their voices and hearts had become one. And as they left the stage together, the melody lingered, a whisper that would never fade. The hall, the music, and the bond between them had proven one thing: humans could reach across worlds, bridge divides, and create harmony where none had existed before. And in that whisper, the story of Arun and Myra would live forever.